So the other day, Trisha posted this video, really 2 days ago at this point, 3 by the time this will be posted on YouTube. And it's called Why I Won't Send My Kids to Public School. Now, I've seen a lot of commentary or like more drama commentary channels talk about this in a negative light, which makes sense. I understand. Well, I don't know that it makes sense. I understand why. Here's the thing: is that when it comes to Trisha content, it's very easy to be disparaging of her. One, because she's said and done a lot of bad things in the past, but also keep in mind that that's just a public narrative. No one's going to be charitable to anything that she says or does. She's kind of hurt herself there. But at the end of the day, I think it's still important to understand that, like, I don't think that when Trisha's talking about this topic, I don't think that she's trying to be a bad person. I will say I do have a hard time thinking that she's genuine. I will say that part of me feels like she might be talking about this topic in a way where she makes it more about her. But at the same time, a lot of people have been talking about the topic. And I don't think that she's we'll watch it. I don't think that she's going to be as like, we'll see if it's like super, we'll see if it's bad. That's all we're going to say. It's just the title. Let's watch it.
Hey everyone.
Well, yeah, of course it's about, that's true. The title is about her. I understand that. But what's interesting is like, I don't know. I can't understand it because like now she's going to be a mother, so like now she has more of like a parental mindset. And so she might be like, what if that was my kid? So it's more personal. That's how a lot of people feel. What if it was my kid? Like, that's how a lot of people tend to feel. So
In my daughter's nursery, it's being painted right now.
Terrible audio.
And I set up a little cushion spot in here. They're kind of like working, just have a little spot in here.
The audio's
while
not
they're
even
working done in our bedroom and other parts of the house. Excuse me. So I wanted to talk about like something really, like, I guess I don't really get like, look, I did a tweet Sunday that obviously people were upset about, saying like, I don't really, basically I don't like to hear about politics.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that.
I'm ignorant, and I just don't want to learn about it because it makes me like so depressed. And obviously it was taken as like, well, you're privileged, that's why it doesn't, it doesn't affect you, and your privilege is talking, and your kids will suffer because of you. Something,
Jesus.
All along those lines. And I understand that. I totally understand that. I was kind of just being honest and being like, if
tweet.
there's other people like me out there, like, you're not alone. Because sometimes I feel so stupid when it comes to politics. But I also feel like so helpless because then the stuff I do know, it's like, well,
I don't know if it's just politics, Trisha. I think it's most things. Let me find the politics tweet though. Oh look, a Joel Osteen. Oh my god. Either way, you're insane. Let's see. Shouldn't have scrolled. At least it was censored. I can't scroll on her page. What am I doing? Oh my god. Oh man, I'm really hurting myself. All right. Anyway, this is the tweet. I forgot it. A little risque. A little bit of a risk. I forgot. I feel like I'm the only one on Twitter completely disinterested in politics. Like, I hate hearing political takes. LOL, maybe I'm just an idiot, ignorant, both. Well, you are. I don't comprehend anything anyone says about parties, laws, bans, etc. I'm the perfect example of not everyone should vote. That's probably true. I mean, like, people are just going to shit on it and call her privileged. Most people aren't that interested in politics. Something to keep in mind, like, most people aren't super interested in politics because, like, a lot of times, at least the everyday man or woman, they're kind of just working and coming home and they want to be entertained. They've already spent 40 to 50 to 60 hours of their week, or like 8, 10, 12 hours of their day on the grind, and they come home and it's not always very easy to engage in politics. So most people are like this. I mean, I just don't care. I mean, I don't care. I think that, like, I'm not going to read into it. It's not that deep. Like, it's Trisha Paytas. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of people like to extrapolate a narrative from this and like, oh, see, she's just a privileged. Like, yeah, she is privileged. But like, if it was somebody else who said this, if somebody you liked said this, you'd be like, yeah, I get that. Like, if Ela Klein made this post, you'd be like, yeah, true. That would be the end of it.
What can be done about it? And like, there's just not a lot. Obviously, voting and getting educated and stuff like that, obviously, and all that. Anyways, I know it's going to make people mad. Once again, I'm really ignorant to this stuff. I choose to be ignorant to it, and I understand when people say like that's a privilege too. It's just,
you choose to be ignorant to it. Yeah, that is a privilege. So here's the thing: like, if you really so it's a conversation to have. What we can do about it I mean, listen, fundamentally is what we need to do about it is like vote third party system. We need to create a third party system in the United States that where we can actually have a conversation, because I think most people are on a reasonable line of like what they are willing to do, but neither party is gonna neither party is gonna give up, right? Realistically speaking, a gun ban is not going to happen. I think, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't even think most people want to ban guns in America, but we need we need much more strenuous gun laws. Um, some kind of, a lot of people say common sense gun laws. From my perspective, we used to have really bad motor vehicle issues where there was tons of people dying every year. We implemented a driver's license and like an infrastructure to get your license in a responsible way that taught you to respect cars, respect your vehicle, and like drive correctly. I think doing something like that for a gun would help a lot. The person who caused this shooting got his guns legally in Texas. He was 18. On his 18th birthday, he showed up to a gun shop. He bought a ton of ammunition and 2 long rifles. That was all he needed. You shouldn't be able to do that. You just should not be able to do that. Okay. And so like most people would be on board with that, I think. But since you only have 2 parties, you're going to go with one of the parties that generally holds some of your views versus the party who generally doesn't hold some of your views, kind of a thing. Very few people heavily align with their party. So there needs to be like additional parties for people, or additional options for people to say like, hey, I want to go here instead. That would, frankly, I think it would very heavily auto-regulate a lot of the problems in our political system. And that's kind of the first place to go. There's also a huge conversation to have about the media, the way in which it's very divisive, the way in which it pulls people apart intentionally, because hate breeds, and that makes money, and that's what they want. They want more money. I don't know what you can really do with that. Regulating the media is not exactly that's a slippery slope for the government to regulate the media. But both sides are shouting, and it is both sides. You'll have some conservatives, dog whistling about the great replacement theory of like white people being, genocided out of the United States through like immigration and stuff. But then you have on like the left, you have like constant sensationalization of different issues. Like for instance, I think that the Russian collusion thing is a great example. There was no Russian collusion. I just want you to know that. It was great. I think we should have investigated it because there was some reasonable evidence to do so. I think that was great. 2 years, Russian collusion every single day. Breaking news, Russian collusion, boom, 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 boom. 2 years happens, they finish the report, there was no collusion. How do you think that makes people feel? It's going to make them not trust you as a news source. Okay, so these are the problems. We have shitty media that really just kind of plays on the divisiveness in people. What I will say is, like Trisha, if you do care, you should probably have considered maybe platforming somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to like a solution, rather than coming on and being like, I don't know what we could do. You have a larger platform, so that would have been something that you could have considered.
There's something.
Arming teachers is a possibility. The thing that I'm apprehensive against arming teachers is more when you get into the higher grades. High school, these kids are adults physically to an extent. Just so you know, like I was 6'4" in high school. So imagine somebody like me. I just wanted I rushed a teacher and I beat them up and I grabbed their gun. That's not a great thing. Frankly, you're probably your best bet for a school wise, outside of like the gun laws, 1 point of entry, and possibly have armed guards at the school. Because this guy went into the back of it. There's 2 points. He went into the back of the school. He didn't go into the main point. There needs to be 1 point of entry in and out with like guards being able to monitor that. That's what we really need.
That's been so plaguing America, and this is like another thing where it's like I guess I should just know politics better or know how to handle this, but I feel like no one knows how to handle this because there's no solution, and that is school shootings, mass shootings.
And yeah, teachers too. Like teachers are also people. They might utilize that gun incorrectly as well. It's really tough,
I've always been terrified of mass shootings, like since I was a kid.
Kidding.
When I was in elementary school, Columbine.
Sorry, it's just like who isn't going to be terrified of that?
Was like the biggest thing. It was like 1999 or something. So I was like 11. I was like in middle school. I was terrified of school shootings. There seemed to be a lot of those. Obviously, Columbine was like the first big one that got news, but then right after that was like the Virginia Tech shootings, and then there was all those shootings in the movie theater. And
okay, so I said 1 point of entry, not 1 point of exit. You could still have exits. Come on. You could still have ways to get out of the building in case of an emergency. 1 point of entry. Like if you ever opened a door and it locks behind you when it closes, that's what I'm referring to. Okay, 1 point. I'm just saying. I'm just okay.
And later on, obviously as an adult, I remember Christina Grimmie at her
And you could
show,
argue that somebody might open the door for them and they can come in, but like I think it generally is a good idea to do one point of entry.
and then the next day the Pulse nightclub shootings in Orlando. There's even been mass shootings close to where I lived, in LA, and just at casual places. Sometimes or in Sandy Hook Elementary School, that was around the same time as like Columbine. And it just seems to be happening Buffalo, New York. I see this stuff. Like I said, obviously I'm not seeking it out. I'm not watching news outlets or anything, but I see it on Twitter and stuff like that. And I see it all over TikTok. I see,
I think maybe that you should have at least like read articles about this before talking about it. Like, come on, like you've done the bare minimum here. You're like, I saw some TikToks about it. Like, how informational? Or I mean, maybe you found like a pretty information or informative TikTok. I don't know, but
kind of smack you in the face with it, and it's something that just like it devastates me. It truly crushes me. So it's not that I don't care. It's like what can be done, and it's like second to the tragedy of
I don't know. It's like, why are you talking about it when you keep asking the question? Like, all right.
The people that lost their lives. It's like, is the fact that there's no solution. There's no, like, what are we doing to fix this? And
those are two different statements. There's no solution is different from what are we doing to fix this. One is that you can't solve it. The other one is we're not solving it. Those are two very different things.
There's just absolutely nothing. And I see people talk about, ban all guns and, anti-gun laws, and then combat with people. Well, people are going to find the guns whether they're illegal or not.
Okay, so to this point, first and foremost, I'm not for banning all guns. It's just not something that I'm for. I'm for definitely like common sense gun control. I do genuinely think that like citizens, like, law-abiding citizens should have access to guns to protect themselves. I do think that we should be able to do that. I think it should be more difficult to get than just like walking into a store at 18 years old and getting a gun. That's fucking insane. Even if you are for banning guns, it's simply not going to happen. Like, that's not the next step. That's not the next thing that's going to happen. Isn't going to be to ban guns. You're not going to win that argument. So you're better off just not advocating for banning all guns. Okay. It depends on the state when it comes to getting a permit for a gun. It's very different, and every state is very different. Okay, just so you know. Like in that state, I believe in Texas, you need like some kind of a permit to carry a handgun, but not for like a long rifle. That being said, yeah, you're not gonna like really be able to advocate for that to the point where she makes where people are gonna get guns anyway. Yes and no. Most guns that are gotten illegally go through legal infrastructure. Maybe they file off the serial number or stuff like that, but they come through like legal means. So if you remove the legal means of distribution, you're removing the majority of the illegal means of distribution. So you're going to drastically reduce the amount of illegal guns. Now that's assuming that we're going to be able to get everybody's guns away from them if we made it illegal, which you're not going to be able to. But just fundamentally making guns illegal would help. Probably fairly significantly. It's similar to when you legalize sex work or you legalize prostitution. They use those infrastructures to sex traffic people, right? So it's something to keep in mind. Can you 3D print weapons? Yeah, but they're not very good. Like that's the whole narrative. Like they're nowhere near where they would need to be like, destructive in some capacity.
Again, I'm not on either side of it. I don't know the answer. If it stopped mass shootings, I would say ban all guns. Yes. But like people say, like people will just find those guns, and like the wrong people have the guns, and the people who are on the right side of things won't have access to guns, and then it's a really bad situation. So
why did you make this video?
I don't know the answer to that, and that's why politics in general there's no win, there's no answer. And I don't understand how this can keep happening at schools, and specifically schools. The one I'm referring to now is the Texas one, the Uvalde school. I'm probably saying that wrong. Uvalde or something, where an 18-year-old high school student opened fire at an elementary school.
Yes.
In Texas. I'm just like, I think wounded, shot 14. I think 2 have died, maybe more by now.
I mean, this is on the 24th, so like I don't know if they knew exactly how many people died. At this point, the count is like I think it's 21 dead. 19 of them were students and 2 of them were teachers, and then 17 are injured.
I don't know. I haven't. This is all happening now, and I'm just devastated. My husband sent me a text and was like, our child will not go to public school. Because like we had debated about public school.
So I know a lot of people are upset about her public school comment. A lot of people were like, you could still get shot up in a public school. So I looked into the statistics of this. So 25% of the schools in the United States are private schools, which is a lot more than I thought. 10% of our student population goes to private schools, which means that there's a better teacher to student ratio. I think only 6% of school shootings happen at private schools. And again, 25% of those schools are private. So there is a drastically disproportionately smaller amount of shootings going on at private schools and public schools. So this argument, like I know a lot of people are like, oh, they can still happen at private school. You're going to have less of a chance to, it's going to be a less of a chance that it's going to happen at a private school. Like, just so that you know. So I know a lot of people are kind of going after her for that point, but like, it is a reasonable point. And on a personal level, like, yeah, she might have the privilege to be able to send her kid to a private school, but I would too if I had that ability. Because why would as a parent anybody would want to have their kids be as safe as possible? Okay, so
school, on one hand, it's like, well, I have to say public school, but on one hand, it does help you socialize and like, you get to do projects and team things and stuff like that. And like, yeah, but we've always kind of leaned more on the not going to public school for a variety of reasons. It was horrible for me. Just bullied by students and even teachers, and just it's just I have my own issues with public school, but
she's like all over the place. Like I remember, okay, I'm not gonna get into it, but I remember there's one time where she's like, I was never bullied, and now she's like, I was bullied. Like, make up your fucking mind. That's why people think you're lying all the time about everything that you say.
Then the options are like, okay, private school, which is super expensive, and like we're fortunate that we could send our kids to private school, but a lot can change by the time that happens.
We can only hope, Trisha. I'm just kidding. Oh, maybe I'm not, but I am.
Circumstances change and stuff like that, and like right now that's what we're like saving for, is like that, because that's like a big thing. Or the other option was homeschool, which I don't even know what the expenses are in that. I do have a friend that
you should not homeschool your child, Trisha. Your kid needs to be as far away from you as much as possible. Okay, that is an objective truth. Do not homeschool your child, for the love of God. That kid needs to be away from you. Okay, you should send your kid away to school in another country, like whatever. Like if you're here on the globe, your kid should go to the exact opposite spot on the globe so that they're as far away from you as possible. That would be the best for your child. Okay.
Homeschools her child, and they're very happy with that decision. And I'm like, maybe that's the route to go, because we had talked about that too, because I'm like, well, there's private school, but at the same time, and we looked at like fancy private schools, it's a long ways away. If you guys don't know, I'm pregnant with my first daughter, so it is a ways away.
How could we have known, Trisha? You've never talked about it before. Why wouldn't we know this? So yes, we know that you're pregnant with your first daughter. You talk about it all the time. This is literally the Paytas Hackcom family channel. My wife sneezed, so I said bless you, but I muted the mic. Okay.
It's a lot. Hopefully a lot can change, and this is something that
like it's so interesting because nobody watched this video that wasn't somebody who knew Trisha Paytas. It's not like somebody that stumbled upon this. Oh, I wonder what this person here that clearly looks like they have quite a bit of insight on this situation. I wonder what they think. I have no idea who they are, but I just stumbled across it. There's no person like that. Everybody who's watching knows who you are. Okay, this is ridiculous.
Part of the change, whatever it is. But once again, whenever I make these videos about anything going on in our world, there's like, what's the answer? I did videos about what was happening in the Middle East last year with Afghanistan and refugees and all stuff like that, in India.
I wonder. I must have been a really good video.
I need to stop. Just kidding. A little. It's really working me up.
Okay.
I'm just making skin off my foot. It's disgusting, but
that is disgusting. You probably sell that on your OnlyFans because you have the disgusting men who subscribe to you. So.
And then there's the homeschool. Like I said, I don't even know how like that option. Obviously, you worry about like the social interaction, because obviously they have to go somewhere and meet kids. Like you can't just hold them in a bubble either. Obviously through classes or lessons or public theater or whatever it is. Sports. If they have that, I don't even know after all that stuff. But I know for us, this was like the final straw where we're like definitely not sending them to public school, because why? Because we're scared they're gonna be in a mass shooting.
Okay.
Because it's such a reality, and it's such a common reality. Like it just happens so often.
This could have just been a tweet. Frankly, I don't think that we really needed this input in general from you, but okay. I think that she cares about like what happened. I think it's sad to her, but I also think that she's looking at it like in a way where it's like content,
And I know that whole thing is like, obviously the fear mongers, like, well, you can't be afraid to like go outside. Obviously, yes, you live your life. We still go to movies. We still do this. Like you live your life. But the fact that there's just so many school shootings and nothing can be done about it, and that just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't sit well with me. Like, I literally just
Are you trying to say that nothing can be done, or are you trying to say that like you don't see a solution? Like I don't. You're kind of back and forth here.
cried because when I saw 14 were shot and 2 were killed, like, I have nieces and nephew. I have
What's really terrible is I think that some of them were like family members too. Like they were cut. Like I think 2 sets of cousins who were killed. Like it's horrible. Like could you? I know this sounds like really fucked up, but could you imagine? Like it's already so bad to lose like 1 kid in the family. Could you imagine losing like 2 kids in the family? 2 kids in the family. That's horrible. That's really terrible, man. That's just really terrible.
my own daughter coming. Like, I just couldn't imagine, like, innocent children, just literally so innocent, just going to school, and then they're gone. And it's so hard. You know, like I said, I just have a baby inside me, and it already feels so protective, and it was so hard to just get her to this stage, right? But then you raise a child and you nurture them and you put all
This might be a genuine thought. This might be like a real genuine tears. I just don't. I know this is. I just don't care because it's Trisha. You know. I mean, I just don't know. You know. My wife cried when she was reading this. So like, people do cry. They get very upset about this, of course. But I don't know. She's just not usually. It's hard to differentiate what is and isn't genuine from her.
all you have in them and want to see them grow, and they're taken away like that. I just
Okay.
and I like I said, I try not to talk about serious things because it really
You clearly don't. You clearly don't actually try not to talk about serious things because you're doing it right now.
it like triggers me, this whole thing. It sends me into like a paranoia, into this spiral of anxiety and depression. And I don't want you guys to feel that energy from me. You know, my one job is, you know, entertaining people, distracting people, escaping from the day-to-day life of this stuff, of the reality of this. I just feel once again helpless, and I feel like making this video really doesn't even have a point other than like what can
I certainly agree with that, Trisha.
I do? You know, I made a tweet that was ignorant and stupid, and everyone came for me but never gave me a solution. I'm like, what can I do? You know, I voted.
What are you talking about? The politics question? Like you weren't really asking for a solution. You just said that you don't care about politics. LOL. Like that's your what solution do you want people to give you? You didn't say like, "Oh, I'm having trouble feeling interested in politics. What should I do?" You didn't ask for like some kind of criticism. You were just making a general statement, and people responded poorly to it. That's what solution? They did tell you. They said that you're privileged for not being in politics. What they're telling you is to care about politics. That's it. I'm sorry that they didn't give you the specific pathway, but
And I feel like I voted for like the wrong person because I was so uneducated on so many things, and now it's like this turmoil.
Who did Trisha vote for? Didn't Trisha vote for? Did she vote for Trump or Biden? Did Trisha Paytas vote for 2020? Was it Trump or Biden? Because like Trump didn't win anyway, so your vote didn't actually matter. Okay.
What's happening in our country, and I love our country. I love America. I love the United States. I love California. But this shit is just like so heavy. And I guess I'm making this because if you think I'm ignorant and stupid and not doing my part and not keeping up with politics, I'm asking you now. This is a hill.
Well, I don't think anybody has to engage in politics. I think that you would have been better just not engage. I think it would have been better if you just continued to not engage. It feels like this is potentially a reaction to people criticizing her. They were like, oh, she was like, I don't even like politics, LOL, on her Twitter. I guess expecting some kind of positive interaction. I don't know what she expects. Nobody's ever positive to her on Twitter. And then and then she got negative interaction on that, so she's like, you know what, I'm gonna insert myself into the next horrific event or something, you know. So I guess maybe this is your fault, guys. Okay, you bullied her when she said she didn't care about politics, and now she feels the need to overcompensate by making this stupid fucking video. All right, it's your fault, but you want this because it's content for you. Okay, I know how you drama channels work. You're just bullying Trisha into giving you content. It's somewhat true.
Hill I will die on. Like, how do I help? How do I change? What do we change about this? Because all the stuff I read is all conflicting. There's just no solution, basically.
There is, but I think that you
I just think
are not.
I just think they need to do away with public schools.
What a base take. So Trisha, I know that you didn't think about that. I know that like you didn't put any level of like thought or intelligence into that statement. But I want to know, what do you mean by get rid of public schools? Like what could that mean? Okay? Because you can't do that. Where are kids going to go to school? They wouldn't. So we pay taxpayer dollars so that we can send kids to school. So if you got rid of public schools, I guess the parents might have a little bit more money, but they still can't teach their kids. That's just going to lead to an even dumber like generation of kids, right? So the next option is that you create vouchers, right? Everything's a private school, quote unquote, and then you create a voucher so that you take your voucher and you can go to whatever school you want in the proximity. The problem is then you're going to lead to school overcrowding. It's just not going to work. Nothing you said makes sense. Getting rid of public schools makes you quite literally just cannot. Okay, that's like if something happened where it's like, oh man, there's a lot of mercury in the water. What should we do? We just can't drink water anymore. Oh, but even that would make more sense because you could eat meat with water in it, right? You could eat grapes or something. You know what I mean? So like this doesn't make sense. Go full online learning. I suppose. Okay, there you go. Maybe, but then you're going to completely deprive kids of interactions with other kids, and they're going to become fucking sociopaths. Okay. Plus, parents need to go to work. That's actually not a very practical solution because then parents need to work. So then, unless we're going to gravitate back to like mandatory, we're going to have mandatory 2-parent households with one parent working and the other one not. That's a drastic infrastructure shift. That's just not going to happen. Okay. So none of these are practical solutions. None of them are practical solutions. And I would argue that having kids homeschool and not having public interaction at schools, which is I think very necessary, that's going to create a generation of kids that are more depressed, more violent, more angry because you need to get that energy out, especially young men. They need to run around. They need to run around and go, rah! Like they need to just be stupid fucking men, stupid fucking boys. Okay. So what she said doesn't make sense. Now, to her credit, she's dumb, so it's okay. But like, think about what you're saying, like just for a second. Like, think about like, hey, what are you saying? Think about it for like a second. Come on, like for a second, just be like, okay, you came on and you thought that was like a reasonable point. Oh, I should have paused that. Sorry.
Nerve tipped $1.
Thank you.
Shout out to Papa Gunt.
Thank you, Papa Gunt. Thank you so much.
And I know that won't stop. Obviously, people can go into a daycare that happened. They can go into, a football game, whatever. I get that.
Sure.
But it just seems to be in these schools in particular, there's a bunch of kids in like one spot. And then definitely more security. Like there definitely needs to be more security. We had no security at my school. You could just
that I agree with. I already brought that up before. Like we should do one point of entry and multiple possible armed guards.
You could just walk in. The doors were open during school hours. Anyone could just walk in.
That's how it was for me too. I could just walk in and out through like any entrance and exit.
And they just
crazy too because at my school that I went to, somebody actually said that they were going to shoot the school up. Nobody took that person seriously. That's how we used to treat these things. Everybody was like, we don't believe you. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. This was before like Sandy Hook and all that. It's insane. Like we never took people seriously. It's crazy stuff.
Much in taxes. Everybody pays so much in taxes, specifically California. It's like, where do those tax dollars need to go instead of building more freeways? It needs to go to like security in schools. Checking bags, sure. People at the door, like actual security people who like tackle people, not just people who I've seen things. There was a shooting in downtown LA actually, in a big tourist spot, and there was a shooting, and the security guard was running away. It's like, okay, well,
that's a security guard. That's the little. Well, I guess we're advocating for armed security guards, but I'm imagining that's just a regular security guard. Here's the thing: like she's not necessarily wrong, especially about the running away part. I don't know the specifics. I've read a lot about it, but there seems to be a lot of argument to be made about the cops in the situation at the school are fucking cowards, and it was very frustrating. I watched like an entire video of like parents yelling and crying because they wanted to go help their kids, which makes no sense. You shouldn't let them run in. But then the cops waited for like 40 minutes before going into the building. How many kids could they have saved if they got medical treatment faster? How many kids wouldn't have gotten shot if the cops went in? The public narrative forever has been cops are heroes and they deserve like additional respect than anybody else. Why? After today, why? Listen, and I said it before, I'll say it again here, but here's the reality, okay? It's the job of an elementary school student to go to school and like have fun and learn. It's the job of an elementary school teacher to go to school to teach and have fun. It's the responsibility of a police officer to put yourself in harm's way. That is what you're getting paid for. I'm not trying to be insensitive or callous here, but like you signed up for that. Elementary school kids didn't. And to see that these cops were just like fucking chilling outside waiting. And I'm sure that you can quote some protocol. Well, they needed to do that. This is the protocol. They needed to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck, the protocol is based on like their safety, like number one. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like I'm not gonna be a fucking asshole, but Jesus Christ. What's the point? Why would I give cops additional respect if they aren't even gonna when shit goes down, they don't prove themselves? Why the fuck do I? Why would I? What's the respect that I'm supposed to give to cops? They'll pull you over for going 5 miles over the speed limit, but like, because that's dangerous, going over the speed limit. But like, this isn't dangerous enough to intervene, right? What if the cops went in and all died? I doubt that every cop would go in and just all die. Then they're fucking idiots, okay? Listen, we can make these what-if statements about anything. They should be prepared for a situation like this, and they should have been able to go in. They should have been able to handle this. That's the reality, okay? It shouldn't have been 40 minutes. That's it. That's all I'm saying, okay? It's their job. They get taxpayer dollars to come up with protocols for situations like this. That's their job. To be like, yeah, but what if what? Like, you know, what if I was a waiter at a restaurant and I just didn't bring you your drink and I was like, well, yeah, but you know, I forgot. Like, what's the infrastructure argument? Yeah, well, I didn't want to get my hands wet. It's like, well, you should be prepared for that. Yeah, it's not my job or your job to micromanage police officers on the ways that they should do their protocols. It's their job to have situations to be prepared for. Okay, this should have been prepared for. That's it. that's all it comes down to. Okay, I don't need to have the exact precise like answer for every single thing. It's like fucking cops should be able to handle this shit. That's it.
We need to invest in people who are trained and know to like take down shooters, especially when there's kids involved, or close these schools. And then all those activities we do with our kids, have a security guard there. Put those tax dollars to work, because security guards work. I've hired security guards for events. I've hired it to go to freaking Disneyland, you know. They work because there's a body there.
Take me with you, Trisha. We'll go to Disney together. Me, you, Moses, my wife, your kid, and we'll bring a book and I'll educate you on these topics. I don't think I could be around here for more than 5 minutes.
And even if there's no attack,
imagine we became best friends though. That'd be crazy. What a world. What a crazy world. That would be insane.
it wards off like any possible attack.
Did Trisha make this video as a cash grab? I don't know. I think the problem is it's not as simple as like yes or no. I think that she had something that she wanted to say. She's a public platform, but she made it a little bit too much about herself. Like, I think that's the problem, especially the title. The title, so it's priming. Everything's priming. When you make a title to a video or a thumbnail, you're telling people the way that they should feel about the video before you come into the video. And so the way that you feel this, what she's trying to say is like, hey, this tragedy was really horrible. This is how I feel about it. That's what she's trying to express to you, but she doesn't have a lot of good faith interpretations for obvious reasons. So what it ends up coming off as is like, here's why this is about me. That's the way that it comes to. So you enter the video with like this really uncharitable take on her in general. I think that she cares. I don't think that she's like a horrible person, but like she doesn't have any charitability on anything, and she probably doesn't deserve it. Or at the very least, it's completely understandable why.
There's a buffer there that people see and will be like, okay, maybe I won't do this. Doesn't stop everything, doesn't fix everything, but how do we get that change? How do you get our government to change? How do you...
Two-party system.
Like, I really feel almost like Kim Kardashian style.
We need to get rid of the two-party system is what I was trying to say. What the hell's happening?
Who can like pardon people from prison. She wrote a letter to the president and then she gets people out of prison. But what normal person can do that? What civilian can do that? I write a letter and what? Like, no one sees it. No one cares. Make a video and nothing in our political system is going to change by me making this video. I also know our public mental health system is a joke. People who go...
That's true. I don't know how much of this specific incident can be attributed to mental health issues. This person seemed to... I mean, they said that they got bullied in school sometimes, and then sometimes they would bully people in the schools. I understand really harsh bullying, potentially pushing somebody to doing something horrible. I also understand that the way that kids interact in schools is very... It's... What am I trying to say? It's its own society. It's its own bubble, you know? And so everything seems so extreme and exaggerated. Even the smallest things are big deals. Like if you sleep with somebody at school and the school finds out, that's all you are for 4 years. Like, it's horrible. It's very intense. It's very it's very prone to bullying and whatnot. But I also feel like sometimes we go a little too far with the scapegoat of like, oh, well, this person might have a mental health issue. Clearly there's something wrong with this person to be able to do that. Yeah, an ecosystem is probably a better way to say it. Clearly there's something wrong with this person, but like it's one of those things where I doubt we would have identified it even with a really solid mental health system. It's fundamentally a good thing to advocate for. But I think that like we shouldn't give this person any benefit of the doubt. You know, they literally shot their grandmother in the face and then said, "Hey, I'm gonna go shoot up a school now," to somebody on Facebook. So
into mental hospitals, 5150, where they're forced into one because
I think this person got a background check, but there's not much to check on the background. It's an 18-year-old kid that shouldn't have had a gun. That's really what it comes down to, you know? Like, it should be much more difficult to get a gun. You should learn gun respect. You'd be surprised how much being educated on, like, hey, like, he walked in, got a gun, and he was out. He was done. It wasn't difficult. If you had to go through a 40-hour course to get a gun where they taught you gun laws and gun respect, then like, there's less of a chance that you'll use it in the wrong way, on top of the fact that, excuse me, on top of the fact that a police officer or somebody who's trained to teach you in this course, it could be like, I don't like the person. On top of that, there's probably should be a law where like kids in schools just shouldn't be able to have guns. Honestly, like if you're 18, you still shouldn't be able to get a gun until you're out of high school. Like that should also, I mean, that's potentially a decent law as well. Something like that. You need to get pulled out of that perspective. I think it would help. I mean, like obviously that's very specific to this case, but you know, we're just kind of brainstorming.
A danger to themselves or others. What, they stay there for 3 days. They're fed medicine that they probably don't need because no one diagnosed them. They start giving you medicine. The day you go in there, there's no possible way someone could diagnose you with what's wrong with you. They just give you pills to take. There's no real class structure. You go and color for a little bit. You talk to a doctor for like 5 minutes. You say, hey, you feel like unaliving yourself today? You say yes or no. 3 days of that. If you say no, you're out. 3 days of that. If you say yes,
well, this person wouldn't have gone into that system, but I understand what you're saying.
Stay in and get no treatment, no help. So these people who have these problems and do these things, but they can't get help anywhere. They're a lost cause. Our kids are dying because of it. When I think about, I don't even think about it. Just,
these are probably genuine tears. I'm just very like numb to them now, you know, after like all the things that you put me through, Trisha, you know?
Just innocent kids that haven't even started their lives. It makes me so sad. I mean, to the point where I like can't even do anything today. I'm just like, I'm just devastated by it, but that's just on my head today. It's on my heart.
Yeah, maybe pregnancy hormones too, yeah.
I want to change the world too. I want to change our politics. I want to change.
I don't know if that's true because you keep saying there's nothing we could do. Talk to somebody. I will talk to you about this topic, Trisha, or watch the video and just don't talk to me at all. One of either of those is fine. I don't give a shit. But talk to somebody that's educated on this topic. You know, learn from somebody. Look for a reasonable resource. You know, you could have done that.
So much in this world. Better education, but also better safety. And education should be a priority. Protecting children should be a priority in every atmosphere and every place that they could possibly be at. Especially when they're alone and they're vulnerable and our mental health care system sucks. Therapy should be covered by insurance. Sure,
yeah. Well, therapy tends to be covered by insurance for the most part, although there's some therapies that aren't. What you should say is like everybody should have insurance. Like everybody should be able to have access to affordable insurance. That's a better thing to say, regardless of the way that you like individuals might interpret it. Like for me, I think we should have a private and a public option. I have my private insurance. That's probably better than public insurance, but public insurance that covers like the bases, ability to see a primary care doctor, ER visits if you need it, preventative medicine, mental health professional or mental health access, or you know, these are things that should have access to for sure. But like, you know, obviously she's not going to articulate that but she means well when she says that. She's not going to be able to articulate that, but.
But thoughts and prayers are great. I pray.
Some therapists won't take insurance. It's okay. Fuck them. I mean, like most therapists do take insurance. There's also the access of online insurance, which is still pretty good, or online therapy, which is generally cheaper, and it's actually still pretty good. You could do text insurance, which helps a lot of people, especially if they're introverted. You can do like phone insurance, which should be a bit cheaper, you know, on the phone. You know, obviously going in person I think is probably the best, but there's still alternatives, and the existence of these online facilities and like by phones facilities are going to force people in person to take insurance, because then I'll be like, well, if I can't go to this guy because he doesn't take my insurance, I'll just talk to the person on by phone, you know. So I don't know how big of an issue that is, though. Maybe it is a bigger issue than I think, but I'm just saying
for every single one of those kids and their family. And I pray that heaven is real and there's peace and there's a better life after this life. I really want to believe that. I really hope that's true, and that's why.
Really, you had an issue with your insurance? That's so interesting because I never had that issue. I went to therapy for a while, and I had no issues. But I was also a kid, so maybe I didn't know about the issues. But also, my mom probably had pretty good insurance.
Angels that are too precious for this earth are taken too soon, I feel. I don't know. There must be a reason, because it just doesn't make sense. And it's heartbreaking.
It's so weird that there's so many people who don't take insurance. I didn't know that was that big of a problem. Wow.
But, it's just my thoughts. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, I don't mean to be facetious, but or I don't know, but it sounds like that sounds like what she's trying to say is like, you know, like, share, like, but hey, leave a comment down below. Like, I'm sorry for laughing because it's fucked up, but isn't that what that sounds like? I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Like, how do you want to hear them, Trisha? What do you expect me to do? Well, I'm gonna make a video about it, of course, but what would you do? Oh, leave a comment down below. You know what I mean? Hey, please like for the algorithm. You know, I'm just saying it might be just like automatic. Maybe she wasn't even thinking about that, but I don't know. I get that vibe a little bit from it.
And what we can do to actually change this. Tell me I'm ignorant, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I don't get involved. I want to get involved in something like this. Like, let me know. And stay protected, stay safe, and tell your children how much you love them, and tell everybody how much you love them, because this life is crazy, this world is scary, and it's precious, and just appreciate every day with the ones you're with, and just let them know how much you appreciate them.
All right. Put that on a card, Trisha. That sounds pretty good. I'm sure she was being genuine. So your full-time job insurance, you have insurance through your full-time job, and you still have to pay out of pocket for therapy. I wonder if that's an issue with your insurance. We very clearly have an issue when it comes to insurance fundamentally. So that's probably the biggest thing. Okay. I mean, the video wasn't that bad. I think people were probably having like a little bit of a meltdown on the video. It wasn't really that bad. You know, obviously I think that she came into this like a little bit. It was a little tone deaf. I think it was a little too much. It was a little tone deaf. I don't have particularly high expectations of Trisha, so I don't think it was that bad. But, you know, thank you so much for watching, guys. And another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.